What? Start now, sir.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good noon, all friends around the world. Myself, Habibur Rahman, host Community Talks, founding president CSWPD Foundation, that is Community Social Work Practice and Development Foundation. You know, over the pandemic since last year, we have been hosting so many webinars, talk series, community talks, and inviting many guests across the world. So today, I'm very delighted to have honorable guest Dr. Ada Cheng from USA. She will be talking with me today. So you are requested to be connected and watch out this video. So may I request Dr. Ada Cheng, my honorable guest today's session. Ada, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
All
right. Good morning
right.
from Bangladesh. Hello.
Good morning. And here I am, 11 o'clock at night. So I mean,
Very good.
I'm based in Chicago. So yes, good morning, and I'm here at night. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, fine, fine. So, Ada, you will be happy when I just anchored this session. Always, I'm supposed to tell like this: good morning, good noon, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, because many friends across the world watch out this program. So,
Very.
Dr. Ada, I'm very excited, very happy to actually catch up you today in this community talk series. You'll be very happy to know myself, and with my colleagues, my volunteers, we are running a foundation that is Community Social Work Practice and Development Foundation. From this initiative, over the pandemic, since last year, I have been hosting webinar series, talk series, dialoguing, so many options virtually, keeping the motive, sharing is caring. Because as a sociologist, you definitely agree and just put some thoughts on it, and myself, social worker. So I thought during this pandemic, people are running after energy, people are running after mental strength, stimulation, motivation. So what we can do, just keep physical distancing, as there is virtual opportunities here, so we can be connected, just sharing people thoughts. So welcome you to this show, and Ada, as so many friends around the world, they will watch out this program. This is just recorded now, also live in Community
Mhm.
Talks YouTube. But after that, so many friends will be connected and watch out your voice. And uh, I know you have a vibrant career over the journey. May I ask you something from Taiwan to USA, over the periods, how you actually progress yourself there? There are so many things in the topic today,
I know.
Ada.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for inviting me. Somehow the pandemic brought us together. We probably wouldn't have been able to do this, right? Uh,
Yeah.
because of the pandemic. So thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to meeting more friends from over the world. As I mentioned earlier before the show, I was born in Taiwan. I grew up in Taiwan until the age of 27, and I came to the
Hmm.
United States to pursue master and PhD. And so I was in Eugene, Oregon, for my master's degree in international studies and women's studies. And then I went to
Yeah.
UC at Austin for my PhD in sociology. And then I moved to Chicago. I got a tenure track position, became professor. I was tenure professor in sociology at DePaul University for 15 years until 2016 when I resigned from my teaching position to pursue storytelling and performance. So now I am an artist. So you're right. It's multiple careers. Life is unpredictable. I thought I would be a professor and then retire professor, die a professor. That would be it. And I never thought of myself, becoming an artist. But that's life. It's been a wonderful journey. It's been a wonderful journey.
Amazing. I will ask you a question regarding this. In 2016, you
Mm-hmm.
resigned from DePaul University, where you were
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be professor, retired professor, few years after. Actually, that is very challenging, and I hope that is the turning, that is the liberty of your choice and your actually career selection. It might be so. Will come after this.
Mm-hmm.
During this pandemic here in my country, Bangladesh, and other country also, there is a batch that children are the post career of COVID, but they are in a sense they are vulnerable because they are not
Mm-hmm.
used to actually interested to use mask. Elderly are vulnerable in that sense. Women are vulnerable, and today's topic is gender violence, women empowerment, and leadership. And you are the proven leader, I do believe, because you have academically a very polished and sound career over the years. And being academician, you just drop this and just come back again to storytelling. You are just turn artist, globally renowned artist. You have so many things I found in. I just beg your pardon that I just whispering your career path, that so many things are there involved in your career. It will take time to speak about you, but as our time is limited, so I
Mm-hmm.
should be very specific on the questions, on the asking few
Mm-hmm.
bullet points that I noted down really
Mm-hmm.
to ask you. So Dr. Ada, can you just reply me? You used to be an academic and
Mm-hmm.
decided to resign from your tenure position to pursue storytelling. How did that happen, and what were the reasons for this career change? This is a massive change because many
Absolutely.
people are interested to be an academician after all the degrees, after having the positions. Why actually did you change this? Can you share us? It might inspire us and all the ladies and female friends across the world, I do believe. So can you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
share?
I mean, I think, something to think about, particularly for your students. I know you're a professor as well, you teach students, and for young people to think about, to pursue, academia for the rest of their life. And there are different ways to pursue your career. And I'll tell you how that happened. The simplest story I would tell is one August morning in 2016. I woke up in the morning 8:30, right, about your time, and I have a cup of coffee in my hand, and suddenly I thought to myself, I think I'll do better as a stand-up comedian. And that's really
Mhm.
true. And then I thought, I went online to Second City website, which is a improv institution here in Chicago, and I signed up for my very first improv class. But before that, really, it's I have been thinking about, the academic career, and the truth is that the last few years up until 2016 when I resigned, I have to admit that I was frustrated with the academic discourse. I was frustrated with theories and constructs. I have been by then I have been teaching for a long time, for 15 years, and I was an award, winning teacher. And in the classroom, I would talk about social. My background is in sociology, and I'll talk about sociological theories and constructs. But here's the thing: the students would tell me, Ada, you change the way we think, right? You really transform our mind. But in my
Mhm.
mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to just change your mind. What I really want you to do is when you go out to the world, you also uh, act, you also do something to make the world a better place. Essentially, if you think about social work, that is what it is, right? You make the world a better place. And so I was always thinking about how to motivate people, not just in their thinking, but also how to motivate them to act, to do something, to address inequality, injustice. And I always felt, that I was able to connect with students intellectually, but not necessarily connect with them emotionally. So I took improv class, and that August 2015,
Yeah.
I took storytelling. I fell in love, and I found that storytelling was such an amazing way to connect with people, not just to challenge them intellectually, but also connect with them emotionally. And that's how I eventually decided to leave academia. That is, I found storytelling as a vehicle for raising awareness for critical consciousness, for critical education, and also for transformative justice. Yeah, so that's my journey. I
Yeah,
finally
that's
found
great.
something powerful, effective, challenge people intellectually, but also connect with them emotionally.
Very good. That's very, very inspiring, really, because that I mentioned earlier, we the people, when we have a job, we just try to be relaxed in this, that I have a job, I can earn money, I can support my family, I can have a car, right? I can have a good
Mm-hmm,
residence. So things are done, all set. But there are a very few people, those who have extra courage, extra leadership. I mean, over the leadership, upon the leadership, actually.
mm-hmm,
They have always courage and inspiration, self startup in mind that I need to do something more that I can do, really. Because I
mm-hmm,
should share in social work, when we teach student strength perspective, there are
mm-hmm,
three components, that is what the client can do, what the client is doing, or what the client wants to do. Actually,
mm-hmm,
always I try to follow this in my personal life, that what people wants me to do, it shouldn't be, because if I fail to do that, I might be criticized and I might be dropped.
mm-hmm,
So what I love to do, what I enjoy to do, actually that you did before, you are now globally
mm-hmm,
renowned and you are exceeding the boundary again and again, again and again throughout the world, which was not possible staying traditionally, that you were not really having fruitfully in your mind. So my second query is, actually these all are very inspiring. Today's topic is gender violence, women
uh-huh,
empowerment, and leadership. And you are the proven leader. And that, Dr. Ada, that I believe personally that leading and leadership, normally it helps in an organizational setup. Where there
mm-hmm,
is an organization, there is, of course, there is a rank of leadership, there is a
mm-hmm,
hierarchy of I mean a leadership path, and there is a proven and defined concept of leadership. But in the open market, when there
mm,
is no boundary of, it's very tough to circle out, right? It's very tough to reshape the leadership definition. So how actually you are exceptionally doing this? My question is, I just noted down, I just prepared this for you, that how
mm-hmm,
actually you are doing extraordinarily this, all this matters together. So the second query from my side is, how has the decision to leave academia changed the way you conceptualize leadership? What's the difference in leading or leadership with or without an institutional or formal position? Because you are now openly working
right,
virtually and physically throughout the world through
right,
storytelling, doing arts and solo performance, so many things which are very, very challenging. So how you define leadership as a woman where so many women are oppressed, right, globally. So,
Right.
how
Right.
you can share this with us, Dr. Dachin, please?
Thank you.
Sure.
Before I answer that question, I want to mention something that mentioned very important. In particularly in Asian culture, art is not discouraged, right? We oftentimes expect our young people to pursue careers that that brings prestige, respect, monetary rewards, and middle class lifestyle, and there's definitely a difference between what we want to do and what the society expects us to do. But here's the thing, I struggled for a long time. It's for me. I came to this country as an immigrant, came to the United States as an immigrant. So in some way, becoming a tenure professor, I made it, right. This immigrant success story. So it was very difficult for me to, before finally making that decision to leave, I had to redefine for myself what success meant. That is, the society tells us success means a car or a house, condo, family, prestige, money, benefits, and everything. And I have to redefine success means to me, that is beyond all these conventional definitions. Success means to me that is continual growth, right? As a human being, being happy, pursue what I want to do, and also pursue authenticity, pursue my passion. And so I have to really rethink success. Now, that has a lot to do with when we think about leadership. I think my experiences these past few years really taught me how to think beyond boundaries, right? If you ask me, 5 or 6 years ago, could I talk about leadership? No, I couldn't. I would think of myself simply as a faculty member in the classroom. Sure, I might lead students, but in a very small scale. But now, yes, after I left my tenure position, with what I'm doing, creating storytelling platforms for people to tell difficult and vulnerable stories, being a staff member on college campus, doing programming on gender-based violence, doing public outreach and public education, the very things I'm doing. And what I have learned about leadership, that is, leadership doesn't necessarily mean that you lead from a formal position. And the fact is, uh, not everyone is necessarily suited in formal organizations. Not, there's probably only one chair, right? Chairperson in a department, one provost, one president. However, all of us can lead from where we are. You can, for me, it has always been my best place to lead is in this place in between where I'm not within any particular field, or I'm not being bound by any kind of conventions, and I can really lead well. That breaking boundaries, doing things that are different from the conventions. I can experiment and really doing things that transcend the conventional wisdom. And that for me is a form of leadership. Leadership is about an attitude. Leadership is not necessarily about having followers. Sometimes leadership simply means being a trailblazer, being the first person to do something. And sometimes people might not have the courage to follow you. So, one, particularly for women, you're right, right? Particularly in terms of women's status, women may not always occupy positions out in the public sphere, but it doesn't necessarily mean that women do not lead in their family. So, I want people to think about leadership broadly. Lead from where you are, lead
Hmm.
yourself first, right? Lead yourself. That is, do you continue to follow rules, expectations that people set for you, or do you pursue your own dream, define your
Hmm.
life for yourself? So lead yourself first, and you will know how to lead others.
Very good, very inspiring, really. And actually, when we think informally based on our own strength, then whole world is for me, right? It's possible because we have individual leadership, we have individual power,
Mm-hmm.
empowerment, so we can discover the whole world rather sitting in a confined position, which is that you mentioned. Really, it's true happening. And as far I know, you have so many involvement, so many works, so many things in your curriculum. But resume, that is, you work you work at UIC as the education and outreach specialist, CAN, a
Campus
unit
Advocacy
dedicated to
Network.
eradicating, yeah, gender-based violence. So, would you talk
Mm-hmm.
about the work that you do at UIC? What are your
Very good.
innovative approaches that actually I'm very desiring to know, that is toward gender-based violence education and prevention on US college campuses, just
Yes.
having a link with the developing countries one. So please talk on this.
Absolutely. Even as a teacher, when I was teaching at DePaul, I mean, I teach, for example, gender-based violence, gender and society, and so working at UIC as a staff member, education and outreach specialist, CAN means Campus Advocacy Network, and so what we do is specifically. For me, is developing educational programming and outreach devoted to eradicating gender-based violence. For example, including but not limited to, for example, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, harassment, and also all forms of discrimination, all forms of violence. And so what I do in my position really is to develop programming, and I have brought innovative educational approaches to gender-based violence education and prevention. So, for example, I like to use dialogue, conversation, just like what we're doing, and engage in conversation with students. I do not believe in just lecture, doing presentation. I think, particularly with this generation of young people, we need to have conversation about, for example, what's consent, right? What
Correct.
constitutes sexual assault, toxic masculinity, right? How young men are raised, and so a lot of my programming, I don't do a standard presentation. A lot of my programming is about having conversation with students. So I have a dialogue centered workshop. Bring students into the workshop. We engage in conversation specifically. For example, it can be about intimate partner violence. It can be about disability and gender-based violence and transformative justice. Having conversations so students can talk through right their struggles, their dilemma, their questions. The other thing that I have done, for example, is to bring storytelling events to UIC. I find storytelling a very powerful tool for education, for raising critical consciousness, because storytelling essentially really is about helping us to develop understanding, empathy, sympathy, compassion for other people's experiences, right? And hopefully that we act, right? That we do something. And so I bring storytelling show. For example, one of the show is Am I Man Enough? So I bring the storytelling show to campus where I have storytellers tell personal stories, critically examine the impact of toxic masculinity. And I'll tell you, that was the first storytelling event I brought to UIC. It was a hit because students have been struggling with this issue. A lot of young men, particularly young men from fraternities and sororities, fraternities, they show up. They were really struggling with, they want answers to know how to become better per human beings, while being conditioned, right, by our society, by the US society. And so students were asking critical questions about what it means to be human. How do we do better? Right. So storytelling show is something that I brought to campus as well. Use storytelling to engage in conversation. The other one that I created is what I call the storytelling circle. Essentially, simply bring people together, and then we share stories about gender-based violence, about toxic masculinity, about social conditioning. And so I
Yeah,
bring very different kind of events, programming to campus.
very, very impressive. I have just two more queries, and the second last from the last year's. Among different things, how do the different types of work you do, like storytelling, gender-based violence, teaching of, and help the students, help you understand and approach empowerment different? Actually, that was my basic thing question to you, that you are doing like storytelling,
Mhm.
gender-based violence activities, and teaching. All these how actually empowering you differently in
So
in your life, because you are very motivated personality.
So when
Yeah.
we think about empowerment, essentially is for people to critically examine what it is that they want, right? What it is that they want to choose to do, right? And so you're an educator, we can lecture, students about their wants, their
Yeah, yeah.
choices. They have to want something. And so when I think about storytelling, when I think about gender based violence, when I think about the work that I do, essentially to give people the opportunities and to really think through, their social conditioning, their society, the structural context, to think about their
Mm-hmm.
relationship with their society, and the kind of society they want to live in, and the choices that they want to make as individuals living in those societies, right, in that society. So when we think about empowerment, is really for me is I give students that path, that space for them to talk through their struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't lecture them. I don't tell them necessarily about what choices they want to make or they need to make, but essentially is to give them that safe space, or shall we say brave space, where they can make brave decisions, right? That they can have a safe space to talk through their difficulties and struggles, to ask questions that they may not feel comfortable. And so for me, not only, sure, I'm an educator, but really also a facilitator. Give people that space, give people a tool to really think through issues, talk through issues, a space where they can struggle with their identities, talk through issues, meet other people, like-minded people. And empowerment is about that. It's about that space where people can make their own decisions about their lives.
That's great. Uh, Actually, your approach of teaching and learning inspired me a lot. Dr. Ada, you might recall in the inception of my introduction, I just shared we have innovated this because of sharing. Sharing is caring.
Mm.
We thought it earlier, and the teaching learning process that you adopted through story, just like storytelling, sharing, role playing, and so many things are there. You were just inviting people, you were inviting graduates and students just to tell about them. You were inviting the couples, you were inviting the women who is suppressed and violent. So actually just invite them or let them to speak out, to share their own feelings and grievance, so that they can be relaxed bit rather than just hearing someone's talk. So likely when I have been teaching to students here, I thought only classroom teaching, academic teaching, learning. I am delivering lecture. They're just listening to me and coming out from the classroom. When they go back to their family and community, they don't have any practical perception within the community people having engagement. Till then they are coming out and interacting them, just gossiping them, sharing their sorrows and pains with them, and just
Mhm.
try to learn the community people. They never be a self-reliant personality. They never be empowered in that way, because they are
Mhm.
not having the courage and self strength to speak out their own stories to others. So I really salute you. It's amazing, because the courage that you adopted in your mind on 2016, just living the tenure, that was really very challenging for you, because that was very traditional in that sense, that after having all the degrees, academic careers, then definitely we'll just enshrine our career joining either in a multinational corporates, right, or in teaching position. But teaching is in a way, I should say, teaching is of course the topmost rank position for the scholars after
Mhm.
having higher degree or pursuing higher degree. But you are exceptionally uh, uh, empowered. You have exceptional leadership that really made you to take the decision that time from coming out from the tenure position, being a faculty member that time. And my last question this time, actually, with the people, because of device, excessive device, because of technology and the
Mhm.
excessive use of technology due to the pandemic, because we are completely depending on device.
Mhm.
The children and the housewife, those who are passing their time at home, they are, most of the cases, not always, I shouldn't say like this, they are depending on the device,
Mhm.
having some valid reason also, like academic task, right, teaching their kids, they are using devices. But sometimes this device actually make a
Mhm.
bar, make a partition
Right.
within the relationship with the husband, with the parents, right, with the kids
Mhm.
and seniors. This is kind of a deviation that is being just happening over this couple of months. So
Mhm.
what is actually your last comment on this part, how we can be interactive, because we are losing our tempo to listening someone. We are being impatient this time, because mobile is my best friend, laptop is my best friend, rather
Mhm.
my wife, rather my children, rather my colleagues. I'm talking to my colleagues just using my laptop, using mobile phone. That's happening nowadays. So
Right.
it's kind
Right.
of, yeah, it's kind of harassment. I think it's kind of violence component, and of course kind of interruption. So last comment is to reduce women violence, child abuse, in terms of excessive use of this technological device during this pandemic. How we can be actually better one, not completely detached from this, but in better situation. What is your perception for this purpose?
Uh
2 3 minutes.
Good. It's really interesting. Technology, right? It's like a addiction, addiction to phone, addiction to social media, right? So we're talking about addiction to all these external things that prevent us from having genuine connection with one another, right? And the truth is, the technology, we should be in control of technology rather than the other way around, that technology control us. And so you're right, is how do we overcome this addiction? And what I find is the most important thing, always remind ourselves, that is, what is the essence of our human existence? Essentially, it's our connection with others, not our connection with technology. Technology cannot replace human connection, right? Technology should aid in human connection, human relationships, but not a replacement. And so I think the pandemic allows us, because of the sheer isolation, I think it actually forces us to really uh, that I think I feel that people are hungry for connection. As much as we're using, right, the StreamYard, the Zoom, I think there's a hunger in people. There's a thirst that we want to connect with one another, and I think it's important for us to continue on this path. Always remember. The essence of human existence is about connection, our connection with one another, and that's the power. And whatever the technology we have, whether it is about phone, social media, technology, those should be the methods that we depend
Yeah.
on to strengthen the human connection. And so, what you're doing is one of the things that's really important is the human connection across borders, where you have audience members from all over the world. And this is what it is. You are utilizing the technology to strengthen
Mhm.
human connection and overcome this addiction to technology.
Perfect, perfect. So, Dr. Ada, actually, from your discussion that I could understand, there is a huge relationship, inclined relationship between women empowerment, leadership, and reducing violence in that way. And these all three things actually can be better, can be empowered and boosted up through using EQ or emotional intelligence, emotional
Mm-hmm.
questions, intelligence. These all are very, very actually impactful factors to empower a person and to, of course, to boost up leadership of someone. So we are very happy on behalf of this community talks YouTube, community talks virtual platform, and on behalf of our foundation, community social work practice and development foundation rooted here in Bangladesh. This is a global foundation. Now we are working together with some volunteers of different countries. So we are delighted, we are honored to have you here today. And of course, you saw that we just organized every year conferences. So hopefully we'll get you again. We'll invite you
Absolutely.
to, yeah, yeah, to play your role perfectly. So be in touch, have a good health, stay home, stay safe, or stay safe where you are moving, because you have to move around. And please keep us in your prayers. Hope to see you again.
Thank
Goodbye to
you.
you and goodbye to all friends, those who are watching this show and you will watching it later on. So thanks, Dr. Ada Chen. Again, goodbye for this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Great work. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.